I will talk about one of my favorite books in the Bible, which is the book of Ecclesiastes. And in this book, Solomon specifically points out that everything that we do under the sun is meaningless. And it felt like it came straight from his heart. And if there is somebody who can say this, who can claim this, it is definitely Solomon, because he had everything. Did he really think that everything we do here is meaningless? Was this what he really meant? Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Truth Podcast with your host, Sarah Carlson. It is another Sunday, which means it is another episode. And guys, this week was a bit of a warrior week, because we all know there was one thing that was pulled off this week, and that was Halloween. 31st of October was my day. Not to celebrate it, but to rebuke it. I do not stand for Halloween at all. I do not know why anybody would stand for Halloween with the origins of it. But this week, I was praying, I was fasting, and I was casting out all of these demons trying to come into our world, trying to destroy people on this day. But I really hope that you guys stayed safe and that you took this week as an opportunity, this day, 31st of October, as an opportunity to rebuke all of the evil that is going on. I definitely did. So, I also, last week, I revealed to you guys what I have been keeping a secret for so long, and that was that my new collection has been released. And finally it is out. Now, I have seen so much positive feedback on it, and I'm so thankful that you guys liked it. It was inspired by you, and so I was like, I hope these people like it, because I just put everything into it as you wanted it to be. And I can see that you guys really liked it. If you see on my side here, I am having some of my products right in front of you. So here is one of them, and I also have one over here. These are my two hats that I am selling, and I cannot put it on right now because I don't want to ruin my hairstyle. But these ones are some of your favorites, actually. I've seen that many of you guys like these hats, and it's my bestseller. So, and that is why these are here today. I have them in so many different colors, and they have also an embroidered cross on the back. So it is more than just Yahweh or Yeshua. It also shows the symbol of what Christ did for us on the cross. Now, these are 100% cotton. If you wondered, they are not polyester at all. These are real quality. And also they come in many various different colors, in pink, in blue, in camo, and white and black, of course. So you can decide whichever you want. And right now it is a sale on everything, 10% off, and see if there's something you like on my store, sarahcarlson.com, if you want to go directly. And you guys might wonder what all of this money will go to. All of that I will earn on this, what will it go to? And I will reveal it to you that all of this is going to future missionary and fulfilling the mission that God has put me on, because there is so many things that I really want to achieve in the future, which I actually talk about on my website. If you want to go and check that out and see more about it, you can just go on About Me, and then everything stands there. But there are so many things that I want to do that I haven't really accomplished yet, but I will. And what I earn, the money that I receive from you guys, goes to that. It supports that. So thank you to everybody who has chosen to order, who has chosen to donate. You guys are amazing, and I truly appreciate every single one of you. God bless you so much. Truly, I will give you updates on how the mission is going, the missionary, and everything in the future when everything comes into place. But today, I will talk about one of my favorite books in the Bible, which is the book of Ecclesiastes. And it is kind of funny because this is actually one of the most depressing books in the Bible. Now, this book was written by Solomon in the Old Testament, and Solomon was the wisest man to ever live. He really talked about a lot that blew my mind in this book, and his wisdom really shows in here. And you know, it is my favorite book because it is kind of mind-awakening, and if I can tell you, it is kind of like a slap in the face. The first time I read Ecclesiastes, just everything in my life changed. It was like a whole reverse. And I really like that book because of that. It really had a big impact on me. And in this book, Solomon specifically points out that everything that we do under the sun on this earth is meaningless. And today, I will go deep into what this means, this claim that he made. Did he really think that everything we do here is meaningless? You know, was this what he really meant? For his goal wasn't to discourage us. It wasn't to make us depressed and hopeless. No, it was to make us face the truth. And what is that? Let us find out today. So let us dive deep into the book of Ecclesiastes today, and make sure that you stick until the end, because I will reveal something very exciting, very mind-awakening, and eye-opening to you guys. Because this book, as I said, was written by Solomon, son of David, King David. And the reason I tell you guys that the first time I read this book I was mind blown is because the first verse, he says this: meaningless. Meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. And I was like, bro, what? What do you mean everything is meaningless? You know, don't I have a purpose? Don't I have a meaning in life? I was just my whole life was turned upside down from the moment I read the first verse. And you know, it felt like it came straight from his heart when he says that everything is meaningless. And if there is somebody who can say this, who can claim this, it is definitely Solomon, because he had everything. With his wisdom, he found ways to become one of the wealthiest kings of his time. He had everything you could ever want, anything you could ever need, even women. So the fact that he says everything is meaningless says a lot. Now, in this book, he points out a lot of things that is meaningless in detail. And today I will go through 3 of them. And the first one is wealth and materialistic possessions. So in Ecclesiastes 2 verse 10 to 11, Solomon says, I denied myself, nothing my eyes desired. I refused my heart, no pleasure. My heart took delight in all my labor, and this was the reward of all my work. Yet, when I surveyed all that my hands had done, and what I had worked to achieve, everything was meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun. Even great wealth does not bring lasting satisfaction. Solomon talks about all that he did, and how, in the end, all he had done, all of the things he had achieved, was meaningless. It all felt pointless to him. And you know, he had everything. He had money, power, these amazing projects. He built a temple for God. He even had women and food and entertainment. He had everything. Okay, everything. You cannot tell me otherwise. Like, everything you could wish for, anything you could ever have, he had that. Respect, honor. And still, it all felt empty. You know, make that make sense. As someone who is not as wise as Solomon, I'd be like, what? How can you take all that for granted? You know, it doesn't really satisfy you in the end. And let me ask you guys, have you ever felt the way Solomon did? Have you ever felt like things are just meaningless in this life? This story, and especially this point that he makes here, reminds me of a story that my mom told me a while ago. And it's actually a real story. This happened to someone. It was this man who traveled from his country, his home country, and he traveled all the way from his home country to Europe to get a good life, to achieve his goals, And he worked all his life. I mean, his goal was to work so hard that in his 50s he could retire and live in a mansion in his home country. And this pushed him to get many jobs and to save up for it. But this ruined his health. And it got so bad that in the end, when he turned 50 and he retired, he was only able to live in that mansion for 1 month. Until he was unable to live by himself. Until he had to get moved into an elderly home. Instead of living the best life in his mansion. Isn't that really sad? Isn't it sad? Really? I just feel so bad for the guy because he had so many big goals. And it all just became pointless in the end. Because it didn't work out. And this is the mindset that we all have had or still have. That when we retire, we will be happy. When we get a job or that car, we will be happy. When we marry a rich man, we will be happy. When we get this, when we do this, when we achieve this or that, we will be happy. We chase all of these things of this world, but when it is too late, we found out that it's all meaningless. We are chasing the wind. So this one was a big hit in my heart. Now the second thing that he says is completely meaningless is wisdom and knowledge. And y'all, I did not expect him to say this. But in Ecclesiastes 1 verse 18, he says, "For with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief." Here Solomon tells us that the more wisdom and knowledge we gain, the more we become aware of the life's struggles and the challenges that we face. Solomon wanted to teach us that though wisdom and knowledge is valuable, it does not always lead to fulfillment and happiness. And he knows this because he explored various paths in his life, like seeking pleasure, achievement, and knowledge, all to find out that they often felt empty. He probably thought that wisdom and knowledge would, solve all of his problems, because when you are wise, when you have knowledge, you know how to solve a problem. You know how to fix things right. But even the pursuit of wisdom can feel meaningless. Because despite our understanding of life, we still face pain, we still face suffering, we still face death. We cannot escape our fate, even though we have wisdom and knowledge. Which leads me to the third and final thing he thought was pointless, meaningless. And that was time and death. And in Ecclesiastes 3 verse 19 to 20, he says, "Surely the fate of human beings is like that of the animals. The same fate awaits them both. As one dies, so dies the other. All have the same breath. Humans have no advantage over animals. Everything is meaningless. All go to the same place. All come from dust, and to dust all return." Here he emphasizes that all people, regardless of their status, whether they are rich or poor, righteous or wicked, we will all face death. And this makes me wonder what we are fighting for. Why do we hate each other so much? We try to achieve success in dirty ways, with cheating, in competition, in stealing and lying, jealousy. But we are all chasing the wind, for we will all one day leave this earth. We come empty-handed, and we will leave empty-handed. What on earth is the point of all of this fighting, all of this war, all of this hatred? I really don't see the point here. It's so stupid. We are all just dust. And it can all feel pretty heavy if you're someone like me who's just 17 years old. And it's more serious to me, I have so many plans, so many goals, so many things I want to achieve. I have a future. But these verses, when I read Ecclesiastes, it just reminds me of how temporary life is. It is a bit of a wake-up call, making you think of what actually matters, which is what I love about Ecclesiastes. The thinking you have to do. It's hard to move on from that book. That's what I gotta tell you. Now, these are not the only claims that he makes in Ecclesiastes. There are so many things he say is completely meaningless and pointless and just, for example, like work and labor and pleasure and enjoyment. These things, he says it all is meaningless. Or does he? Does he actually say that it's meaningless? Or is he trying to say something else? Does this mean that my life has no purpose? Are we just here to live and die? Or is there something deeper we should focus on? Many interpret what Solomon says here as if life has no meaning at all. But the original word that Solomon uses in Ecclesiastes is not meaningless. It is actually hevel. I have never heard that word before until today. But what does hevel mean? Sure, meaningless means that something doesn't actually have significance and value. It's like saying that something is pointless or empty. But on the other hand, we have hevel. Hevel is a Hebrew word that is used in Ecclesiastes, and it means way more than meaningless. Now, you can use them both in Ecclesiastes. It's just that hevel, which is the original word, is just more deeper than just using meaningless. When you only use meaningless, it's kind of taken away. It's stripping away its metaphor. For what does hevel mean? Hevel suggests that something is temporary, like smoke. It looks like it's there, but it disappears very quickly. It's like a cloud. It looks solid, but a plane can just fly right through. So Solomon wants us to recognize that despite our efforts, many aspects of life is temporary and can slip away very quickly, like smoke. You see, this book wasn't just for us to question life, but for us to get answers to life. This book encourages us to look for deeper meaning beyond material pursuits and to appreciate the present moment and the relationships we have with people. Because the life we live, it slips away so quickly, like a blink of an eye, which is what Solomon clears up in the end of Ecclesiastes. He wants us to understand that life has meaning even when you cannot make sense out of it. Because honestly, life does not make sense. The good ones, they get bad things. And the bad people, they get good things in life. This unfairness, it just makes life so meaningless. It doesn't make sense. But though we cannot make sense out of it sometimes, he tells us to appreciate the bread of today. For then, we will be happy. To appreciate life is the gift God gave to man. And in the end, Solomon says, to top it all off, he says, the end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. This is what he wanted to convey through all he said. Yes, life is meaningless if you don't have God. Life is meaningless if you don't keep his commandments. Life is meaningless if you don't live in the present, in the moment. That is why we need to make sure that we build a relationship with him and we find our identity in him. And that is what my last episode was all about. So go and check that out if you haven't already. When you know your identity, you know that your Father in heaven owns the whole world. So there is no need to chase the wind. Why have to? Now thank you guys. I hope this made sense. The book of Ecclesiastes, honestly, it is mind-awakening, and I hope I'm not the only one who thinks this. Let me know, guys, if you have read the book of Ecclesiastes before, and if you haven't, I 100% encourage you to, for it will wake you up. I'm telling you. I read this like 2 years ago, I think. Maybe 1 year ago. No. 2 years ago. And I haven't been the same since. Now you know why life can sometimes be meaningless. And what actually he meant. Life is hevel. You have learned a new term today. Life is hevel. Life is like smoke. So live in the moment. You gotta live in the moment. You gotta have God in your life. And that is when life is gonna make sense. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for all of the good feedback on my store. I'm so thankful for all of it, and I hope you find something. If you haven't found anything yet, I hope you find something to give your friends, to give your family as a gift or something. And I know that some of the products say that they are sold out. I'm trying to fix the problem right now, so I will let you know when it is all solved. But for the moment, there is still a lot for you to get out there. 10% off of everything. And again, if you want to know what all of this money goes to, it's for missionary. And if you want to know more about it, go and check out sarahcarlson.com, and it will all stand there. Now, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this episode, and hit the bell button so you get notified every single time I post a new episode. Don't forget though, not only subscribe here, subscribe to my newsletter, for I update that every single week. Now I'll see you next Sunday. God bless you guys.